There we go. All right, and then we'll go ahead and remind everybody to mute until it's your turn to talk. But welcome to our unfortunate Zoom July breakfast. You all know the story, and I don't know if Miss Mays needs a GoFundMe page to get a new air conditioning system at the restaurant, but we just didn't think getting 100 people inside a restaurant in July in Virginia was the wisest course. So here we are, one last Zoom. It better be one last Zoom. So with that, in no particular order as they appear on my screen, I do want to introduce some of our special guests. We have Blythe Scott, our Commissioner of Revenue, running for office, our great Congressman Bobby Scott, former Chair Charlene Christopher, former Chair Diane's iPhone, our great 2nd Congressional District Representative Elaine Luria, our 100th House District candidate Finale Norton, Joni Ivey, the guru of all things in the 3rd Congressional District, our Jay Jones, our delegate. How are you, Jay? Kate Fegley, who is Elaine's campaign manager, LB, president of the firefighters, Larry Brown, Nancy Guy, a member of the House of Delegates. Hey, Nancy. And Ramin Fatehi, our soon-to-be Commonwealth's attorney. And 2nd Congressional District Chair, Sandra Brandt. And that might be it. If I miss Dawn will probably be hopping on later, our treasurer. So those are the ones I saw. If I missed you, I'm sorry. But okay, as
big news about Elaine Luria.
I did mention Elaine, yes, and her campaign manager.
But also her big news.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll get to it. Well, for those who may not be aware, a tradition started on our July breakfast by Diane Kaufman, where we have a select reading from the Declaration of Independence. We want to go ahead and continue that tradition, and some of the former chairs and folks have some reading parts. And I'm going to hit the share screen. And hopefully all of our participants, if they didn't print it out, can see it. And Grant, by the way, congratulations to our treasurer, Grant. He got engaged a week. So finally we get to open one of these meetings with a happy story and not a condolence story. So that's good. So yeah, but he won't hear you because he's not on the call. He probably he's out of town. So with that said, standing in for the grant is our Secretary, Barbara Clear, so she'll jump in the grant portion. With that said, Atoy, take it away.
It was 245 years ago that church bells rang out over Philadelphia as the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. This revolutionary document not only formalized the American colonies' united front in the Revolutionary War, but it articulated the ideals of human equality and self-determination that still serve as the guiding principles of American government. The Norfolk Democratic Committee would like to invite our members to join us in the tradition reading of this document.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
Betty, you on here?
He's muted.
Okay, I was halfway through. Okay, let me start over. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
In every stage of oppression, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which defines a tyrant is unfit to be a ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states, and that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, that they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may have a right to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The declaration, a noble document, like I said, enumerating the reasons for the separation. So thanks for everybody for jumping on. And let's get to the portion for our updates. So with that said, we go to our wonderful chairman, 3rd Congressional District Icon, Congressman Bobby Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. You know, this was, I'll let Elaine talk about the, I'll just leave the commission to her, but the 2 Supreme Court cases that came out this week, one in Arizona, one in California, really emphasize the importance of us voting because our democracy is at stake. They allowed the Voting Rights Act to be interpreted that if you pass a voting change that has a disproportionate impact on minorities, that doesn't mean that it was discriminatory under the Voting Rights Act. If that's their interpretation, I don't know what the Voting Rights Act is there for. And so it's gotten to the point where we could count on the Voting Rights Act and the Supreme Court to at least make sure things weren't getting worse. And here they've just allowed that to happen. The other cases in California where they allowed charitable organizations to keep their contributors secret, that case isn't impactful, but the reasoning may kind of go over towards political and whether or not the dark money has to be exposed. That's one of the things that we've been trying to do. If they're going to have Citizens United, at least we ought to know who they are. And the Supreme Court in previous cases has said, well, of course you can know who they are. They can just do it. Now there's a question of whether we can even know who they are. Those are very disturbing questions, go to the very democracy. Elaine's going to talk about the threat to democracy in our in the insurrection. But the voting rights changes in some states where they are allowing somebody in their state capital to override the actual election returns, essentially enabling them to steal the election. They tried to, but they couldn't force some of the local election officials to lie about what the returns were. The only defense we have against some of this, and we lost the election. They've got 6 justices in the Supreme Court. We'll have a majority based on life expectancies throughout the Biden term. Possibly with a little bad luck, they could go through the next 8 years, maintaining a majority. But assuming we win the next 3 presidential elections, it's unlikely that we'd be able to regain the majority. So we've got to do it at the polls. Having said that, the rescue plan is still alive and well. I talked to somebody on the just on the Norfolk School Board. He said they got over $100 million. Their total budget is about $400 and some million. So they'll have more money than just on education than they've had to deal with in a long time. And so we're looking forward to an elimination of the achievement gap and making up for the lost 1.5 years of education. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Congressman. You know, all I can say to that, I thought it was, I don't know if ironic is the word, but the same day the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, what remained of it, Virginia's went into effect, the Virginia Voting Rights Act. So echoing that elections matter, organizing and winning elections is paramount. It's prima facie evidence right there.
Charlie, there's a question about whether or not Biden might consider adding seats to the Supreme Court. Biden can't do it by himself. He would need a statutory change to add seats to the Supreme Court. And the chance that we could get all 50 Democrats to agree to that is, I think, unlikely, particularly in light of the fact that if we do it now, we'd have to add at least 4 just to, to get from 3 to 7. Then when they come in, they'll add a couple, but soon you'll have about 43 people on the Supreme Court. I mean, I think we just have to win the elections.
Right.
I would point out that I can't find a Republican Senate that confirmed a Democratic appointment to the Supreme Court going back to Roosevelt. McConnell said he's not confirming anybody to the Supreme Court if he takes over the Senate. And that just puts more emphasis on the need to maintain the control of the Senate.
Well, say what you will about our Republican friends, they play the long game, and the courts have been something they've been battling every election for 30 or 40 years. Carrie, you got a question for the congressman?
Yes. In light of the Supreme Court decision on the California side, and in looking at things like Citizen United, where they said corporations have rights in line with people, does that also mean that some of the privacy protections that they're trying to say that people have in not telling anybody who has contributed to these, to certain nonprofits, and potentially in backing voter, financial backing for elections and stuff, will that also mean that corporations such as, and this is just throwing it out there, I'm not saying that these guys are bad guys or anything else like that, but say General Electric, if they decided that they didn't want to say who their major stockholders were, that they could actually not disclose that because of privacy concerns?
I'm not sure they have to disclose their stockholders. I guess the major stockholders, I guess they, I'm not sure what the disclosure requirements are from the SEC, but the real problem with the disclosure on charitable organizations is the history. One of the problems that occurred was that the Southern powers that be wanted the names of the people who belonged to the NAACP. NAACP wouldn't tell them. And the Supreme Court said that the NAACP didn't have to, because if they did, they would be subjected to all kinds of intimidation, and that would be a violation of freedom of association and freedom of speech. With that background, it's you have to be careful how you deal with these kind of cases, because it may come back to bite you. But when you get into political situations, I think you lose some of your anonymity. And this, the case itself is not as troubling as what it might say to organizations that are actually involved politically, whether or not any law that requires their disclosure would be could be sustained. And that's it's the next case that I think is most problematic, not this case itself.
All right, anything else for Mr. Chairman?
Hey, Charlie, I have a quick question.
Yeah, who's that?
Sorry, it's Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hello, hi, Congressman. Would this apply to foreign people, also foreign nationals, also invest if they contribute, or is it only apply to American citizens?
I didn't read the decision, but I didn't. You know, the individual case and how they apply it really didn't isn't the problem. The question is whether we could pass a campaign finance disclosure for political organizations that are affecting elections that Citizens United launched on us. That's where the mischief is going to occur. I'm not sure that this case itself is a problem. It's really the next case. And so when you get into, so I can't answer the details of it, but I'm not sure the details in this case make much difference. It's how they interpret the next one.
Thank you.
All right, very good. I'm sure other questions will percolate up during the breakfast. moving up from the 3rd to the 2nd Congressional District. Thanks so much for our wonderful Congresswoman Elaine Luria. I'm sure there's nothing new in your congressional life to share.
Well, thanks, Charlie, and it's good to see everyone. I was really looking forward to doing this in person, but hopefully we'll be able to do that next time. I think a few people alluded it to this early on. I was appointed by the Speaker to serve on the special committee for the investigation into the events of January 6th. This is obviously a very serious event in our history. And something that I think we need to get to the bottom of. We need to understand the events that happened that day, the causes, and the corrective actions to prevent something like this from happening again. Just kind of tracing how we got to this special committee, we actually attempted to form a nonpartisan commission similar to the 9/11 Commission. We voted that through the House. The Senate actually had a majority, but not enough votes, not 60 votes to put that into place. So, the next path, we could not just leave this on the table and not do anything to try to get these answers, was to pass a select committee within the House. And the composition of that was the Speaker had 8 nominees to the committee, the Majority Leader 5. As you've probably seen in the news, the Speaker chose Liz Cheney as one of the nominees from the Democratic side. And as of now, Leader McCarthy has failed to name who he's going to appoint to this committee. There's a lot of questions out there, and I've been asked a few times by reporters already, you're going to interview this person, that person, how long is it going to take? What I would say is that the precepts of our committee and moving forward, and under the leadership of Chairman Benny Thompson, who's also the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, another committee on which I serve, is that we have to get to the bottom of this. There's nothing defined, there's nothing off the table. We will go where the information leads us. And as soon as we have, or potentially don't have, the additional members appointed to the committee and form with staff, we will start into having hearings in the investigation. This is meant to build on top of the work that other committees have already done. There are multiple committees of jurisdiction that have already been investigating elements of the January 6th insurrection. That includes the Oversight Committee, Judiciary Committee, well, a little bit less in armed services, but I personally think there is a piece there with the delay in having the National Guard arrive on scene, the Homeland Security Committee, obviously, and the Intelligence Committee. So this work will bring all of that together, and the intent is to produce something similar to the 9/11 report, so that we can inform things within our government that failed leading up to this insurrection, whether that's the sharing of intelligence, the preparation of police and law enforcement on that day, the disinformation, the rise of anti-Semitism, white supremacy, racism, all of the things that boiled up. And when you think about it, I feel like there's a clear line between what happened in Charlottesville, as a Virginian, and then what happened on January 6th. If you haven't watched it yet, there is really an excellent compilation that the New York Times just put out this week. 40-minute video. I just put it in the chat, a link to it. Please take the time to watch that. Because we've seen short clips that are all from different angles and different aspects of what happened at the Capitol building that day. But this compilation, step by step, showing the coordinated attack that was happening on all sides of the Capitol is really something, I think, that puts it into perspective. How big it was, how potentially orchestrated and pre-planned it was. And we'll also, going back to starting out, by reading, the tenets of our democracy, the Declaration of Independence today, will make you realize that, what we are celebrating on July 4th is our independence, looking at how fragile our democracy is today. Just watch this video a couple of times and you'll realize how important this committee is in getting these answers. So I'll stop there on that. Other work I'm doing, Armed Services Committee, really focusing a lot on the force structure of the Navy. The Navy proposed decommissioning more ships this year than they were going to build. There's a big fight going on. The Appropriations Committee, Defense Appropriations, has already marked up their bill. Some of that's getting added back. I'm trying to save the Navy. The nation needs to defend us, with the malign actions of China, Russia, but also thinking about our local economy and the jobs right here in Hampton Roads. Some of the decisions the Navy's making could disproportionately affect this region. So I'm a very strong advocate, fighting on everyone here's behalf for those things. Also serving on Veterans Affairs. My subcommittee has introduced and We also marked up out of committee a very large piece of legislation for toxic exposure for veterans. We did Blue Water Navy veterans last Congress. That's Vietnam era veterans exposed to Agent Orange serving off the coast. This is comprehensive legislation to cover burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan and really take that burden off the veteran for those claims. And then Homeland Security, I think I've already covered, the special committee tangentially overlapping the work I'm doing on Homeland Security. Some good things in the president's budget for Hampton Roads. Chesapeake Bay funding, we reauthorized that last year. First time it had been done since 13. So Rob Whitman and I introduced that bill. President's budget has the 90.5 million in there. So we're going in without having to fight over the premise that we need Chesapeake Bay funding, and also the Norfolk Harbor Deepening Project, which will make us the deepest port on the East Coast. It's already underway. The Commonwealth has done most of their share, but we needed the New Start designation from the Army Corps to keep that project going and help our port expand. And I know I see Ken Brown was on here earlier. So very important for the port and our region. So I'll stop there. I don't know if anyone has any questions about anything I mentioned.
Deeper, wider, safer.
Yes.
And I do want to echo what the Congresswoman said about the New York Times video. It is a chilling compilation of it in almost documentary format, with pictures of the Capitol, and while this was going on, this was going on. So I echo that. Watch that. It's an incredible piece of video journalism. Mr. Vincent Hodges has a question. Unmute yourself and ask away.
Good morning, Congresswoman. Good to see you as always.
Hi, good to see you.
You're well. I wondered if, when you were talking about environmentalism, if you had anything to say about the Secretary of Interior, Deb Haaland's, getting the ball rolling on the 205 wind turbine project.
Sure. Yeah. So offshore wind, it was great that Deb was able to come down here. Bobby and I were voting in DC, so we couldn't join her, but I know Tim Kaine did. So offshore wind, huge opportunity for Hampton Roads, huge opportunity as well to increase our amount of renewable energy. And I will tell you that this administration from day one has been incredibly involved in making sure that this project goes smoothly. I had a meeting recently with Senators Kaine and Warner and the governor and the director of BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. And she has personally also participated in a roundtable that I did on fisheries with Congressman Rob Whitman to deal with the fisheries and issues surrounding that. There is attention at the highest level to this project and making sure it goes smoothly. There's also great news as well, because there's a pilot project coordinating between BOEM and the Army Corps of Engineers. And ODU also has a role in working through, some innovative ways to make this project go smoothly. But as other regulatory issues, the permitting is one of the key things to making sure this project gets off, that the companies and the infrastructure that need to come here and build up in advance of actually building the project, all those pieces get in place, and they're all watching the regulatory timeframe. So in addition to working directly on this project, I realize there's a lot of commonalities across these projects around the country. There's 14 projects between here and Maine, either in some form of development or planning. I started an offshore wind caucus, so it's a bipartisan caucus to bring together those members in coastal districts so we can work collectively on the federal issues related to these types of projects. So thanks for bringing that up. I should have mentioned it earlier, but it was great that the secretary came down. They are kicking off the public review period and the impact statements. So we will all, and I know Bobby's on board with this too, keep pushing to make sure the pieces are in place for this project to roll out smoothly.
Thank you, ma'am. Hope you're well.
Yeah, great. Before we get to Mariana, I wanted to acknowledge, as I said, Treasurer Daun Hester has jumped on, and Delegate Angelia Williams Graves. So they'll get to their roles here shortly. Mariana, you have a question.
Well, I'm asking the obvious question. Is it possible to hold Trump accountable, since we know he instigated this whole January 6th event? Or are we counting on the New York court system to hold him accountable? Are we?
Well, I think that they're two separate things. Sorry, go ahead. I mean, they're two separate things. I mean, I think the New York court system is obviously looking into the business dealings of his company and his associates, and that judicial process will happen outside of what's happening and what we're looking at directly in this committee. And what I'll say is, it's early to tell who we might call as witnesses, but everything's on the table, and everyone is on the table as potential witnesses to the events that happened that day. So stay tuned. I think, we have to finish constituting the committee and coming up with our timeline and plan moving forward, but we will go where the investigation takes us.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. See no other hands up. Again, thank you very much and congratulations, Congresswoman. Moving down to the issues of the Commonwealth. Delegate Jay Jones.
Hey, good morning, Charlie.
Good morning.
And good morning, everybody. Happy 4th of July. I wish we were at our new location to do this in person. I was so looking forward to giving everybody a big hug, but that'll have to wait until August. But I will be brief because I know we got a lot of people on here today who have a lot to say. First, let me say thank you. This is the first Zoom that we've had since the primary election, and I just cannot express from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am to my Norfolk Democratic family. You guys came out in force for us. We were able to win Norfolk and so many other localities in Hampton Roads all the way up through Richmond and even into Northern Virginia. And although we didn't get the result that we wanted, we, I think, put something together that was incredibly special and have created a movement here in this Commonwealth. And I look forward to continuing to build upon that and do the work that you guys have elected me to do and entrusted me to do in the 89th district. And I want to give a special thank you to Congresswoman Elaine Luria and Congressman Bobby Scott, all the delegates on this Zoom, everybody who supported me, because we weren't able to be as successful as we were without your help. And so it is now also July 3rd. That means a lot of new laws have gone into effect on July 1st. I hope everybody has looked at the pilot's primer. I think the one that everyone has really been focusing on has been our marijuana legislation that allows for people to consume marijuana. I think the tricky part is how you can obtain it, but we'll leave that for another day. But please be mindful of the new laws that have gone into effect. We've done a tremendous amount of work in the legislature over the last 2 years. And that leads me into my next point, which is that we've got elections in November. I am all in to make sure that we keep our Democratic majority because life has been pretty darn good over the last couple of years. My first term, we did a lot, but it's a lot better when you're in the majority. And I think that Bobby and Elaine can attest to that as well. And so we have a lot of work to do here, not only to make sure that we keep Nancy Guy in the House of Delegates and make sure that we get Finale Norton into the House of Delegates, but also running up our numbers. I always say that the road to a statewide victory runs through Hampton Roads, and I think that is never going to be more true than it is this year. So we've got a lot of work to do, and it's the summer, but now we get started with the door knocking and the phone calls and the fundraising. So everybody buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride over the next few months. And then the last thing I'll say is that we are going into special session on August 2nd to spend some money. So I'll say thank you again to our Congress people because they have gifted us with some resources to help us strengthen and bolster our recovery from this COVID pandemic. And so as a member of the Appropriations Committee, I think we're going to have a lot of work to do and some decisions to make about how we are dispensing that money. But you can all rest assured that I will be fighting for Hampton Roads and for Norfolk to get our fair share of that money in addition to the money that's going directly to the localities, because this is what's going to help us emerge stronger than we went in. And that's going to be, I think, our focus for several weeks in August. If you guys have any questions, you have any concerns, you have any ideas about what you'd like to see done with that money at the state level, do not hesitate to email, call, text our office if you have anything to share. I don't know if she's on. I also want to introduce my new aide, Kenyaro Perez, who has been with me for a while now with the campaign, but she's transitioned over to the legislative side. So if you guys see her, please give her a big welcome. She was an intern in my office, and then she went to Congressman Scott's office, and then he very graciously let me take her back for the campaign, and now she's with me. So she will be someone you guys will be seeing a lot. So please give her a wave, give her a hello when you see her. And thanks again for everything. I owe you guys so very much, and I will leave it now to whoever is next in seniority in our Norfolk delegation.
Any chance for funding air conditioning systems at local restaurants?
That might be an issue for our city council.
Yeah. I think seniority wise, we move on to Nancy Guy, Delegate Guy.
Wow. Second in seniority. That's kind of strange to think about. Hello to all my dear friends in Norfolk. You know how much I love my Norfolk precinct and my Norfolk constituents. July 1st was indeed a great day in the state of Virginia. It has been a privilege to be part of bringing transformational change. And as of July 1st, the Commonwealth is as one of my colleagues expressed on Twitter, a little bit cleaner, a little bit safer, and a little bit more fair and equitable. And we continue to make those strides each and every day, and we're trying to hang on to our majority so that we can protect them. We go into special session on August 2nd. So I guess before our the next breakfast here in Norfolk, the special session's been called by the governor. We could be in session up to 2 weeks. I was talking to leadership yesterday and said, I hope you don't really mean that, because some of us have campaigns to run. We will be dealing with the budget. Jay is on appropriations, so he's very tied up with figuring out where to put all that money that the federal government so kindly gave us. I sit on courts. We also have a big job. We're the other committee that's going to be very active during special session, because we will be appointing 7 new members to the Court of Appeals in Virginia. We did expand our court here in Virginia to create an appeal of right from the circuit court. We were the last state in the union to not have an appeal of right from local courts. So I'm really proud that we were able to do that. And the expansion really has to do with having enough people to handle that work, not an effort to really stack the court. But it does give us the opportunity to do some things to make a change in how our Court of Appeals is composed, to make it more diverse and reflective of both the gender and racial makeup of our Commonwealth, and also the opportunity to have people who buy into the views of restorative justice that have come with the Democratic majority. And that's very important to me. There is currently a debate right now about geographic diversity. The folks in Northern Virginia are screaming and shouting because there is actually only one Northern Virginia-based judge on the Court of Appeals, even though they have almost a quarter of the population in their judicial districts. But I've been fighting very hard in courts to make sure that Hampton Roads isn't forgotten as they expand, pointing out that if we don't give proper representation to Hampton Roads, then we play into the Republicans' continuing diatribe that Democratic control is bad for Hampton Roads because Northern Virginia gets all the benefits and they don't do anything for Hampton Roads, which is absolutely not the truth, as Jay and Angela can also attest. But on the judicial side, I've been having that battle a little bit, and talked to Leader Herring just yesterday on the issue. And she said, I'm on your side, Nancy. I will not forget Hampton Roads, because they know we are the Democratic frontier. And maybe less so in Norfolk and more into Virginia Beach, but we are the cresting edge of the blue wave. And if we don't hold the line here, the edges will crumble. We could lose the majority, and everything we've done that has been so great for our Commonwealth will be undone in a single session. With that in mind, the campaign continues to go well. We had a big fundraiser in the 83rd in Norfolk at Cova Brewing with Senator Kane on Thursday night. Thank you to Congressman Scott and to Kate Fegley on behalf of Congresswoman Luria and all the members of the Norfolk Democratic Committee who I saw there on Thursday night. It was great to see everybody in person and support one of our local Norfolk businesses. I also had a fundraiser with Governor Northam the previous week in Virginia Beach, following the signing of my balloon release ban, a small bill that I continue to be incredibly proud of, because it's something has been supported by our local community for over a decade. It's gotten a lot of positive press in local press, and we just learned this week that People Magazine is doing an article on this bill. So it is a small thing, but it has big impacts, and that's often the way with legislation. So fundraising's going well. We're out knocking doors. We have our first day of action on July 10th. If you're interested, you can contact, I don't think any of my campaign people are on today, but everybody knows my Chief of Staff, Sandra Brandt. And we have our new campaign office on Haygood Road in Virginia Beach, not too far from the Norfolk line. We certainly appreciate everybody who can and wants to participate to help me. My opponent continues to make headlines, not particularly positive ones. He is on the front page of today's paper because Louise Lucas's
Right.
legal team filed a motion for sanctions against him, which the court has taken up in his futile effort to file a recall petition for the most powerful Black woman in Virginia. So that, you know, another loss in court to pile on to his many other losses. You may have also seen that he represented the two of the people from Virginia who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, Congresswoman Luria, and pled guilty. They're from Clifton. So, you know, the nature of his legal practice is really intriguing, in that he spent a lot of time suing progressive Democratic legislators. He tried to recall, or not even progressive, he tried to recall Louise Lucas, but he also tried to recall Dick Sasloff. So he's also filed suit against the Senate on behalf of Amanda Chase, the House on behalf of Bill Deesteth, the governor on behalf of the fired employee from the Inspector General's office, the Chesapeake School Board on behalf of the member who was sanctioned for racist comments, and the Virginia Beach School Board on behalf of Vicki Manning and her efforts to stop the teaching of critical race theory in Virginia Beach. So he doesn't win any of them, but he certainly, that's, you know, like his mentor, Donald Trump, that's how he chooses to spend his time. So
No pressure, but we don't want him anywhere near the General Assembly, Nancy.
That's right. You know, I get a lot of oh hell no from my colleagues.
Yeah.
But you know, he beat Chris Stolle in a primary. We did not see that coming. So we're remaining vigilant and putting our head down and working as hard as we can, not just to get back and protect my seat for the Democratic majority, but also to keep the community from having such a radical representative.
Okay. And we're going to get our next delegate, Angelia Williams Graves. But before that, she'll be coming up. Councilwoman Andria McClellan has jumped on the call. But Delegate Graves, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, fellow Democrats. It is great to see everyone. I too was looking forward to our breakfast this morning and to be in person. I really like people, and to be able to see people and hug people has been one of the most difficult parts, or to not be able to see people and hug people has been one of the most difficult parts of this pandemic. So hopefully we will be able to go back into a restaurant very soon. And this one's right up the street from my house, so that was incredibly convenient for me this morning. So I'm going to be quick. I just want to take an opportunity. Jay mentioned that we do go into special session on August the 2nd. And so we will be selecting judges and distributing funds from the federal government. Again, thank you to Elaine Luria and to Blythe Scott for their work in making sure that we had the funds that we needed, and probably more than we'll ever get in one swell swoop from the federal government in maybe my lifetime. And then the other thing that I also want to mention is a lot of people don't really know how a bill becomes a law. And if you didn't watch Schoolhouse Rock when you were growing up like I did, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill sitting on Capitol Hill. The Speaker of the House, Eileen Fillercorn, is going to join me for a town hall meeting that is going to talk about how a bill becomes a law. And we're going to do that on July 15th. It is going to be virtual, so you can tune in, and it's going to be at 6 o'clock. And so we'll get all the information over to Charlie so that he can get it out to all of you. My legislative assistant is on the call as well. He'll put our email and the link to the website on in the chat so that you can sign up to receive notifications from our campaign. We are gearing up for the November election. I did not have a primary, but I do have an opponent. And so obviously we didn't bury her deep enough in January, so we are going to come back and we're going to do it again. So that's what I have for you. The other thing I want to remind folks of is that in addition to marijuana legislation, there are two things with regard to that. One, you cannot smoke it in public. I will say that again. One, you cannot smoke it in public. How you can obtain it is you can grow up to 4 plants per household, not per person, but per household in your own home. And we did a marijuana town hall. I'll send that to you, Charlie, and you can send that out to folks if they want to take a look at it. It was myself, Delegate Daun Scott from Portsmouth, and our majority leader, Charnel Herring, who carried the legislation in the House of Delegates. And we talked a little bit about the do's and don'ts. We also talked about automatic expungement, and we also talked about what is coming up that has to be reenacted. And the one thing I will say about reenactment is that means it has to go back through the House and the Senate again. And so there are parts of this bill that did not go into effect on July 1. And that is yet another reason for Democrats to maintain the majority in the House and in the Senate. All of the good work that has been done in the House and the Senate will swiftly be undone if we do not maintain a Democratic majority in the House and in the Senate. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's very important for people to understand that when we hold the majority, we hold the majority in committees. And that's how bills get through to the floor in order to get voted on. So it's very, very important that we maintain that. The second thing, as of July 1st, is the death penalty is abolished. So no longer will Virginia be putting folks to death. The death penalty is abolished. And so that has disproportionately affected Black and brown people for decades. And so we won't have, we no longer have the death penalty. And then the last thing is from our budget. One of the things that I'm very proud of in this budget is that we gave state employees and teachers a 5% raise. And so that's another great thing that came out of this past the 2021 General Assembly session. And so as we go back into special session to divvy up funds, I'm going to be working closely with Jay Jones, our senior House member for Norfolk, to make sure that Norfolk is protected and that Norfolk gets the funds that it needs in order to do the things that the city needs to do and to protect our citizens. And also working with Nancy Guy and the Virginia Beach delegation, because I also have some of Virginia Beach, to make sure that Nancy gets reelected, as well as that the beach gets what they need. So thank you, Charlie, for the opportunity. I again remind you, July 15th at 6 o'clock, we will be having a virtual town hall, How a Bill Becomes a Law, with Speaker Eileen Filler-Corn, and we'll get all that information over to you so you can disseminate it out to everyone. And this session too in August is going to be in person. So it'll be great to be in Richmond, to see people and to meet different people. So I'm excited about that. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. We've got a couple of questions for our delegation. Carrie?
Yes, redistricting is back because we now have a commission, and the commission is both elected officials and citizen representation. It's supposed to be citizen led. I think Senator Barker is doing whatever he can not to have citizens lead this, but to end up saying, don't worry your pretty little head, and we'll take care of it all. However, I've got some concerns, and I'm bringing this up because part of it is budgetary. The commission decided to spend the bulk of their money on hiring 2 separate law firms, one for the Democrats and one for the Republicans. This is not certainly within my thought of what it would mean to do this commission, but the bulk of their money is so that they can end up ensuring that we would be in compliance with the Voting Rights Act, which we all understand is being constantly, struck down by the Supreme Court. But in addition to that, though, they haven't even decided how much or how or who was going to be doing the mapping. And I, in part, think that that's probably the biggest item in there for the redistricting. And also on a slightly other note on the redistricting side of the House, July 13th, I think it is, the redistricting commission, at least some of the members, will be down here in Hampton, Virginia. That is as close as they're getting to having a public meeting here in this area. We know it's in Hampton. We have no idea where it is right now, but it's something that if you want to express any views, particularly on representation and whether or not you are in a district that you should be in, like my district is the 100th, and we all know where that goes to. So, but those are, you know, I really have to express my concerns about how that is being done and the fact that DLS is not prepared to do this job at all. So I'm wondering what you can do on the budget side for that.
Anybody want to tackle that?
Did Jay hop off? Because he's the one on appropriations, so I usually defer to him on anything that's money. But Carrie, I really share your concerns about the operation of the commission. Of course, as you know, well, Angela wasn't there. Both Jay and I voted against it because we saw how flawed it was going to be, and somehow it doesn't surprise me that it's not being citizen-led. You know, I knew when it passed that it was going to be bipartisan, not nonpartisan, and that it was going to be as political as it ended up. But I don't know anything about the money,
and Jay did hop off, so
Jay hopped off, but I will pass that up the chain.
okay. All right, thanks. Yeah. All right. On to our wonderful city, Andria McClellan, Councilwoman.
Thanks, Charlie. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
A couple things on the city front. First of all, Carrie, I want you to know that in my monthly meeting with the city manager earlier this week, I asked about what we were doing with plastic bags. So I know that you have brought that up.
Yay!
So we'll get that forward. I've also asked as well that the status as it relates to an ordinance in Norfolk about banning guns in our public building, because we have yet to do that. I see some of our friends from Moms Demand on that. We had a little hiccup that was supposed to be voted on previously. We had some issues with the language, but I'd like to see that come back as well. Other issues that I'm hoping that you'll see some movement on, a citizen review panel. The manager's office has been researching that. We are going to have something in July where we're going to be reviewing a dashboard that provides information about the police and provides more information to the public. And the citizen review panel probably will come subsequent to that, but that's something that I'm interested in. And I've also asked for an update as it relates to collective bargaining. So I don't know if those things will happen, but just to give you some perspective there, I know it's on the city manager's radar, and I know those are issues that are important to this committee. Also, I co-chair the Mayor's Commission on Social Equity and Economic Opportunity with Councilwoman Danica Royster, and we have been meeting monthly. The four committees are affordable housing, health and food security, education and youth, and economic opportunity. And so we are hoping to get out in August to the community with a draft proposal to get some community feedback before we present this to council ultimately in November, what our recommendations are. So stay tuned about that. Council does go into recess for the month of August. We will be back in session in person at our next meeting, which will be on July 13th. So that's very exciting there. I wanted to thank Congresswoman Elaine Luria, who I saw on earlier. I've been working with her staff. There is a bill that she is proposing to deal on a federal level with flood claim disclosure. So here in the city of Norfolk, we know that's a big issue when we have real estate transactions. It's very difficult to disclose that information. There was some good legislation that was passed this past year in the General Assembly, but to do something at the federal level with the National Flood Insurance Program will be great. So we're working on that. And then just two, on a personal note, wanted to let you know that I've just become chair of Hampton Roads Transit and continue my role as chair of Hampton Roads Planning District Commission. So, and then also I'm vice chair of our Regional Broadband Authority. And if anybody ever wants an update on what's going on with the Regional Broadband Ring, I'm happy to provide that too. But that's as quick as I could be. I know we're long on time, so hopefully that helps, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I think Amina has her hand up.
Hi, Mina.
Need to unmute yourself, Amina? Well, Carrie, you got something for Councilwoman?
Yes. What about having the city, we also, on July 1st, intentional releases of balloons has been prohibited within the state. Is there any talk, or have you guys looked at potentially instituting a ban of balloons on city property? An ordinance that would help really support this particular effort?
No.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that. And I don't believe the intent is to ban balloons and Delegate Guy's bill.
No, definitely not.
So I think that there are a lot of things that we have to deal with, Carrie. That probably won't be the one that I'm going to die on a hill for, to be completely.
I am not saying to die on the hill for it. I'm just thinking that, well, we know that, and I don't know, and this goes back to another budgetary thing of what we're doing for, or educating people that intentional releases are going to be, done, and whether or not, does the police know that they're supposed to be going out and also enforcing this type of thing if they see it?
Hey, Carrie, let me address in terms of police enforcement. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people are saying, they're worried about fireworks that are going off that are illegal. By the way, it is illegal to do any fireworks in the city of Norfolk unless they are the professional ones that the city does. This is an issue all over the city right now. We do not have enough police to enforce these things. So we don't have enough police to enforce our short-term rental violations. We don't have enough police to do a lot of things. And so I just want to make sure that we prioritize what we're asking them to do, recognizing a lot of what we've talked about with regard to police reform. We ask them to be to be social workers. We ask them to do so many things, and we've got to be very careful what we pile on there. But you mentioned budget, and I did not mention, and this is important, that we've received, I believe it's $154 million as a result of the ARP funds. And just to let you know, the city manager and the mayor are working those funds will go through a process similar to our annual budget, where there will be public hearings and there will be an opportunity for input. The city staff is working right now to come up with recommendations to present to council to get our feedback, and then we will go out to the community as well. That will likely happen in September after the recess, but that's very important. I wanted to make sure that you knew that we have really been stressing the need for public engagement. Those are huge transformational funds, and they need to be spent wisely. So,
all right, Amina is now back.
I'm sorry about that. Hey,
Amina.
Hey, Andrea, how are you doing? The question I had kind of piggybacks on the civilian review board with police accountability. Has anyone ever brought up the idea of the officers not having access to the dash cam footage, where it goes to like a third party and that third party handles it, since the purpose of the body camera was for police accountability, and it seems like there's an issue when the police are actually handling that body camera footage. So I'm wondering if that has anyone ever brought that up?
No, we haven't. It's certainly a good question. I mean, I think it would be difficult for the chief not to have access to that, because they have to be, they have a chain of command. But I understand your concern, which is, would it be tampered with? Is there a possibility?
Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah, not necessarily that they can't have access, but there's a third party that holds on to it. They can certainly look at it, but they couldn't tamper with it.
Well, that's good. That's a good input. I'll certainly, as we start to go down that road, it's something I'm happy to talk about.
Okay.
Carolyn?
Good morning again. So my question is, Andrea, is for as far as some of the funding coming in, discussing or mentioning earlier about the lack of police for a lot of areas in the city, and again, and also accountability and everything. Have we looked into maybe funding more police training, extending the length of time that we train our officers, and also raising their salaries, and maybe we get a slightly more interested, shall we say, quality of candidate. I know a lot of the problem with shortage is that we train officers, and then they go somewhere else where they make more money, or they find a job where they make more money. Anyway, so just, is that something that would be on the table with this funding?
So Carolyn, we actually, in the last budget that we just passed, we increased pay for police by, I believe it was 8%. And we dealt with some of the step issues and compression to specifically address that and become more competitive. As it relates to training, I don't know if that's going to be a piece of the puzzle. Recognize that a lot of this funding is also sort of one-time funding. So implementing new programs that might run out afterwards is going to be an issue as well. But I think, I think we need to, public safety needs to be part of the discussion. I will tell you, our regional legislative committee, which met for the PDC and the TPO this past week, public safety was brought up, and I believe there is an intent with the mayors and the CAOs to meet with the police chiefs to talk specifically about public safety and the needs there on a regional basis too.
Okay, thanks. One other quick question. Internet access, I believe we're bringing a competition to Cox Cable in. Kind of where are we with that, I guess?
So we passed the ordinance required to let Metronet come in and have access to our right of way. And they have committed within 2 years to hopefully have the entire city lit up. We hope to be the first gig city in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And this is fiber. So it's different than what Cox provides, and that it provides 100 Mbps down and 100 Mbps up. So that's pretty exciting. And then you add to that the regional broadband ring, which will provide hopefully even more competition for the area. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. That said, I've asked the city manager to ensure that, speaking of these ARPA funds, that we work to make sure that all of our libraries and our rec centers have Wi-Fi in them as soon as possible.
Thank you.
All right. Andrea, you are apparently the superstar of the morning. We got a lot of questions up. If we can phrase them quickly, because we got others to move on to. But Jim, go ahead.
Hi, Councilwoman. Can you tell us a little bit about police recruitment and how many officer slots we're down on, and a little bit about police morale?
Hey, thanks, Jim. I think I don't have the specific numbers. My apologies. I know that we like every department in the region, in the nation right now, are suffering because of morale issues and pay. And so we're trying to do that, addressing the fact that we just implemented this 8% pay raise. So it is it's a fine line that we are focusing on police accountability, and at the same time also focusing on police morale. And so we've got to recognize that we've got to address the small percentage that are the bad apples, but we also have to make sure that we are supporting our public safety folks as well, because most of them are doing an amazing job for us. So I don't have the numbers, but I'm happy to follow up and get those for you.
Thank you.
All right. And NEA President Phil Hawkins.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, Chair. Councilwoman McClellan, I had a few questions, but you did answer a little bit about the rec centers having Wi-Fi and libraries, but are we closer to getting all of the rec centers and libraries open? Because I know that's going to have a direct impact on our youth this summer, who have more time in the community with us returning to outdoor activities. We just don't want them on the streets or not being able to continue learning and having those recreational opportunities. And then the other question is kind of two-part, tied into the response to the gun violence. I would like to see the city council respond to the constant gun violence that we're having in our neighborhoods. And I know it's not the issue of just the city, it's really the neighborhoods, and we have to get deeper into that. But if that could be on the agenda for July 13th? And then also, is National Night Out going to take place for the city at any location on August 3rd? And then also the Cities United grant funding that the mayor mentioned on Monday in the roundtable with the other mayors. How can nonprofits get access to that money for doing grassroots projects to help reduce and eliminate the violence in our communities?
Hey, Philip, would you email me a list of those questions so that I can get those all answered? I don't have the information on National Night Out. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened with that, with the planning with COVID. It may have fallen off. I don't know there. I assume we are going to be talking about gun violence, particularly as it relates to this weekend and the concerns that came through there. Rec centers and libraries. So rec centers and libraries, listen, one of our biggest issue with rec centers and libraries right now is staffing. We are having a hell of a time finding staff. I just got an email from the city manager, lifeguards. We have not been able to staff up on lifeguards. And so we will have lifeguards at Community Beach and Sarah Constant, but we are not going to have lifeguards at Ocean View Beach Park because we don't have enough staff. And this is happening in Virginia Beach and elsewhere. So that's also our limiting factor right now in reopening our rec centers and our libraries is a staffing issue.
Okay, are they going to do a push out for that though? Because I think people will be
we've been doing all sorts of job fairs and trying to reach out, and we have. And if you know of anybody who's interested, please,
a lot of young people,
send them our way.
Yeah, because some of them wanted those jobs back, when they were let go because of the pandemic, but they will work part-time hours, so we can open them at least, if not all day, part-time each day of the week except Sunday.
So Philip, send me an email.
I will.
Okay.
So much.
Thank you. Sorry, Charlie.
No, that's okay. You're a lot of questions for you. We're going to make this official to the last question for you. Our newly elected assistant precinct captain at Toys Precinct. But anyway, Meredith Hanson. Lafayette, thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. So I actually have a question for Andrea, and it's to go back to the shortage when it comes to police officers. I did see that the gentleman that was running for Commonwealth Attorney, I sometimes I say his name wrong, Ramin, but with it being short-staffed, I guess my concern is, are they going to do an influx of hiring? When it comes to that, are they going to just hire anybody? Obviously, I know that there's steps to take, to find out who's good candidates and such like that. But what are they going to do to ensure that these police officers are truly trained, that's beneficial for minority communities in Norfolk, as it does seem to be a problem here with police and how they handle things in the communities?
Well, let me, Ramin, thank you for putting those numbers up, by the way, in the chat. Which were, if you didn't see them, we're down about 160 out of roughly 700 officers. But as noted in the comment, this is the situation throughout all of Virginia and quite honestly nationwide. I mean, you even there are billboards for Portsmouth police recruiting in Norfolk. So this is happening everywhere. So are we lowering our standards as a result? No. No, absolutely not. Again, I'm not a public safety professional. And Charlie, it might be a good idea maybe to invite Chief Boone to one of the business meetings. I know he's come in the past.
Right.
to address, because this seems to be a topic of a lot of
Yeah,
interest. And I think
sure
it'd be
is.
great to hear from him specifically. And Meredith, those are really valid questions. And I think as you realize that we need to hire, the concern would be, do we just lower standards just to fill ranks?
Yeah.
If that were the case, we wouldn't have 160 openings.
No, I understand. And then I know this is something you may not be able to answer, and the sheriff himself Barron may be able to answer it, but it's a nationwide thing. So, you know, it's against the whole US. What is it that is causing the shortage, the shortfall? Is it COVID-19? Is it the issues that we've had?
Well, you know, and the sheriff doesn't hire the police, different departments, but he's in the public safety realm. And he probably could address it more, you know, but I think it's hard to be in a profession, which is, you know, where there's a national slogan of defund the police. I mean, yes, it's COVID, but it's tough. It's a tough time to be in public safety. There's a lot of scrutiny, as there should be, but I think it's very, very difficult. But I'm going to defer to Sheriff Barron, who jumped on, and Charlie, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm sorry to have, I'll put my email in the chat if you don't have it. I'm going to start up my office hours, which I've always done once a month until COVID, in City Hall. And if I can't meet with you then, I'd love to meet with you another time. So I'll put my information there. Thanks, Charlie.
All right. All right, moving on to our other cities. I didn't see, you say Joe jumped on. Sheriff, did you get on here?
Yes, sir, I am. And I know Dawn's here, but since there were a lot of questions about public safety stuff, I mean, I can certainly address some of those. Do you want me to go next, or you want Dawn, or?
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go with ladies first, as you always suggest, and we'll circle back to you.
Joe is the senior constitutional officer.
Yeah.
So Joe should really go first, but I don't mind. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay,
well,
take it away, Joe.
Dawn, you're very gracious, and I thank you. Listen, I just want to say good morning, Dems. You know, it's a beautiful morning out there, 4th of July weekend. You know, I have family in town, so I was out walking the dogs with my son and my daughter-in-law. So that's why I'm a little late. I apologize, but I do want to say congratulations again to Ramin for his win as our representative for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And I want to congratulate Dawn for having no opponent at all, which is fantastic. Neither one of them do. But, you know, Blythe and I, we do have opponents. We both are up for re-election in November. We're going to need everybody's help, all hands on deck. I have an opponent. She has 2 opponents. And if we want to continue to have excellence in leadership in our constitutional offices, we need everyone to step up and not sit back on this election. So I appreciate anybody who wants to help to be here for us. As far as what's going on at the sheriff's office, just like the police department, we are short-staffed as well. We are upwards near 40 positions down. I know that doesn't sound like a lot when you compare it to 160 positions down from the police department, but the police department had nearly 800 officers, you know, under their command, and now they're shorthanded to do all the things that they want to do. 40 deputies down from the sheriff's office is huge. We generally have anywhere from 40 to 50 deputies that work per team inside jail. When last year, you know, being short a little bit was okay because we were down below 600 inmates. We are back up to right around 971 inmates. That's a huge responsibility to take care of those inmates and to make sure that their health is taken care of, their well-being and their safety and the security of that facility. So we're down a lot. And part of the problem, you know, I think Meredith was asking, you know, what is the problem? Well, part of it for us is pay. You know, we are paid anywhere from, it used to be $6,000 to $8,000 less a year than our counterparts. And now it's anywhere from, you know, $6,000 to $15,000 less than our counterparts. Now, you know, to Andria's credit and the council's credit, they started a couple of years ago a 4-year compression plan which was inching us towards getting close to being competitive with our fellow cities. But COVID-19 happened, and stimulus packages happened, and defund the police happened. Now, I don't say that to be tone deaf, because we have to keep an eye on the very need to have a conversation about accountability for our law enforcement, across our country and regionally. I want to assure everyone that I keep a close eye on that absolute need for accountability, and I hold my deputies strictly accountable, towards our values and our mission. I say that because that's important to be part of the conversation, as well as the part about why are we losing people and why aren't we not attracting people. I'll just give you an example. Hampton Roads Regional Jail is down like 127 positions. You know how many people they hired last month? Any guesses? One person. That's how many people they got towards that 127. We just graduated an academy at the Norfolk Sheriff's Office that usually has anywhere from 25 to 30 people in it. We had 11, one of which was going to Hampton Roads Regional Jail, that was going through our academy. So there's a stark difference in what we are used to getting as far as people coming to us. But let's talk briefly about accountability. I am all about accountability. And it started 4 years ago when I took over office, and I had a couple of staff members who behaved in a way right off the bat as what is it? It's, where they were sexual harassment within the organization. In the past, sexual harassment was turned to with a blind eye, and that they may get demoted, they may get moved or something like that. I fired them. Can't have that in my organization, can't have that in my work environment. That's just one example. And what I try to do is I try to instill what our values are. Integrity in all things. You have to have honesty in all the things that you do. Respect at all times. We have it listed. Go to my website, go to the Sheriff's Office website. Come into my office, you'll see these things written up on my wall. And so respect at all times means respect for everybody. And if you act in a disrespectful way, even to inmates, then you're going to be held accountable. Duty without prejudice. That means doing your job without any biases, period. And if any bias comes into play, then you don't need to be working for me, or you need to be held accountable. And the final two is pride without ego. It's okay to be proud of what we do, because we're here to do a good job. We're serving our community. We're taking care of our community in a big way. We're performing a law enforcement function. We're part of the criminal justice system. We are important to you guys. Please, 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 say thank you to our deputies for the hard work they're doing. Because let me tell you, they're struggling and their morale is down. It was going up for a long time, but this year has taken its toll on them. But pride without ego. They can be proud as long as it's not all about them. It's about the team, and it's about what we're doing for our community and moving towards the goal of making a difference in the lives of others. And that's our purpose here at the Norfolk Sheriff's Office. Betty could tell you all about it. She's doing a wonderful job. So is Rick James. I don't know if he's on in our programs with our inmates. And finally, team before self. We try to make it about the team. We try to make it about others. We try to make it about taking care of the job that we're here to do, which is creating an environment of life, health, safety, and security inside the jail, and public safety, public service, and public trust. We're part of Team Norfolk. We're working very hand in hand with the city council and the city to get things done. Recently, our AC went out. One of the old AC units that is from the, I guess 80s, 70s, 80s, and it has been in need of repair or replacement for a long time. The city has stepped up right away. We got workers out there working on that. I contacted all the council members, including Andrea, to let them know about it. But it makes it really hot for 971 inmates and for all our staff members in there. Another thing that kills morale, just touching briefly, what is keeping people from coming? God only knows. I know that the narrative across the country doesn't help. But it's not the only thing. You can look anywhere and find that people just are not getting coming to get. Andrea talked about it. You can't get people to come into work at the libraries. You can't get people to go to work at McDonald's. They're offering what, $12, $15 an hour and all the food you can eat. You know, so it's across our country. Every restaurant we go into, you know, has got a help wanted sign on it. But it's impacting our public safety the most. When you have 160 officers down in Norfolk, over 100 officers down in Virginia Beach, you know, 127 correctional officers in the Hampton Roads Regional Jail, over 30 to 40 deputies down in Chesapeake. They're the ones that are stealing our people, by the way. We train them. They go over there. They're getting paid instantly, you know, $8,000 to $10,000 more a year. Virginia Beach is going to be making $15,000 more a year starting pay. And they're the highest paid sheriff's office. They are 50 positions down. Think about that. So we must be doing a little bit right by taking care of our employees, because we don't have as great a number. We're close, and they're the highest paid. But I say all that to also say it's a huge combination of things, I think, that's affecting our ability to bring people to us. The city finance has worked with us just as early as last week, and we have a plan in place to give signing bonuses to people who come to us. We're incentivizing employees that if they find people and we hire them and they stay for a year, we're giving the employees $1,000 per person that they bring. That helps boost their pay for that year, but it incentivizes them to bring people to us that they want to work with. We have I think it was a $2,500 bonus for people that go through the academy and stay with us for a year. After they go through the academy, you know, they're kind of stuck with us because they're going to owe us for that training anyways. And so we get them for the next 3 years unless they decide to pay that and then go someplace else. So those are some of the things we're doing. We're working very hard. The city's given us a budget for recruitment, and that's going to help us as well. And I don't know if that is everything you asked for, but I see some hands up.
Yeah,
So-
and if once again, since we are running late, if we could be real succinct with our questions. Mr. Hodges.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barron, and again, everybody, thanks for letting me speak. Mr. Barron, I'm happy to get myself involved with social workers coming to the aid of the NPD or Sheriff's Department to supplement the things that you're doing, such as serving warrants and interaction with the community. Not being able to recruit and comparing to McDonald's seems like apples to oranges and a socioeconomic issue. So I get that funding is an issue, but I'm interested in what you said about accountability. I typically read the paper every day, and we know that not this past Friday, as in yesterday, but the last Friday, an inmate died, a female inmate died. And I typically read the paper every day. I didn't see an update from your department on what happened. Like, I know obviously there was an investigation that had to be done. I'm going to drop that link in the chat for everybody so they can read it, but I wondered if you had anything for us with that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the question. Unfortunately, we get people into our facility that are not in the best of health. And what we know just briefly, and I can't go into details as to the cause of death, because believe it or not, even when you die, HIPAA follows you. So the HIPAA laws prevent us from sharing that information with the public, which is always problematic. What I can tell you from the police investigation and our investigation is no foul play, did not commit suicide, and had what was an apparent ongoing undiagnosed, long-term medical problem that, so basically, I can say that she had a cardiac arrest and passed. But what I can also say is that the response was immediate. She ate her breakfast. She was served her breakfast. She was in the, the housing area with other inmates. She was doing fine, her regular self. She has one of her best friends in there. I'd say best friend inmate. Let me just say that. And she started not looking correctly. And that best friend went over to her and checked on her, asked her how she was doing. She saw that she was laboring with breathing. That inmate, notified a deputy. The deputy responded within seconds, got there, called medical alert. We got her up to medical. She was in medical and being treated when and under observation when she collapsed. And so she was taken to the hospital where she subsequently died. Those things happen, unfortunately, in a jail environment, any environment. It could happen at the Walmart. But yeah, there's only so much we can put out about that stuff. But I will tell you what I did. I personally went and met with her mother. I personally spoke with her father. When the detectives went to make the death notification, he and I went together and I spoke with her. I gave her my card if she has additional questions. I just wanted to make sure that there was a personal touch to it, and I did that. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Black Lives Matter.
Sheriff, can I speak on that as well? I'm familiar with the young lady, and she was in one of our programs and doing quite well. She had actually successfully completed several programs. She was in the Second Chance program that put parents directly in contact with their children, however are being incarcerated. So she had a good relationship with fellow inmates, the staff, civilian staff, as well as the deputies. So it's a tragic loss. And as far as the morale is down, but I can say that because of the culture of the jail, I, for one, see people who really care about people there. And I, for one, see that it's not just about the pay. You got to really care about people. And maybe you see people chasing money, but I wouldn't really want anyone working with me if it was about $1.
Yeah, I have to agree with Betty. I appreciate her additional comments. And I will just say this, mental health is a big problem and always has been. Yeah, we have over 300 inmates in our care with mental health problems, but we have taken it upon ourselves. We're not getting, honestly, we're not getting a lot of help from CSB. The city knows about it. They're working on it. But the city has allowed us to hire 2 mental health clinicians ourselves. We have Wayne Hanley, who's overseen all mental health operations for the sheriff's office, which included, by the way, after that death occurred, we got mental health staff into that block talking to the inmates that were housed with the young lady. We got mental health workers that responded to be there for our staff who, listen, we got a young staff. Some of them are not used to seeing someone die in front of them or have that kind of incident in front of them. So we are very focused on mental health in our facility, as well as all other health concerns.
And substance abuse.
Yes, and substance abuse, yes.
Meredith, is this a new question?
No, I actually wanted to go back on to the social worker part just really quickly, if that's okay.
Very quick, please.
All right, very quickly. So what steps would it take to get more social workers to advocate there with the sheriff's department for, like a non-threatening type of follow-up? What would need to happen to get more of them in there for mental illness and such?
Yeah, so social work or mental health workers?
Well, social workers, because they can handle a wide range of things.
Yeah, so we have, first of all, we have a terrific, relationship with the city and trying to get all kinds of programs going. Like Betty touched on, substance abuse, mental health programs, and we bring workers in that put on these programs all the time. But anybody that wants to come and volunteer and add to that equation, we're open for. We had stopped all volunteers from coming in last year because of COVID-19, but yet our programs unit continued to have programs available for our inmates. COVID-19 was a huge problem. When you talk about bringing social workers into the equation, I'll give you a quick example. We're starting a brand new program called Camp Hope. And Camp Hope is part of our community outreach. You know, we do three things. We focus on employees, we focus on inmate care and programs, and we focus on our community outreach. But Camp Hope is a program, it's a week-long camp for children who have grown up in domestic violence situations or have experienced trauma in their life. And we know that those are more susceptible to becoming victims of domestic violence themselves or becoming offenders of domestic violence. And so we are going to have the very first Camp Hope in Virginia. There's a Camp Hope in San Diego. There's a Camp Hopes across the country. The only one in Virginia is going to be put on by the Norfolk Sheriff's Office in connection with the Family Justice Center. It's a trauma-informed camp. And if there are people and social workers out there that want to help us with it, we're getting volunteers from Oldham University that are in social work program and mental health programs. We got volunteers coming from Norfolk State University. So we have our local universities we have partnerships with, but we're looking for any help that we can to make sure that the program's successful. But it's not just a one-week camp. It's a year-round, mentorship program for all the youth that end up involved. Right now, we're trying to identify enough youth to have the program go off. We got grant money for it.
Sheriff, I just put our program office number in the chat. For any resources out there, please contact me. We usually have a resource fair annually. Of course, we didn't have it this past year because of COVID, but I'm looking forward to having that again. If we have to do it virtually, we can still do that to offer services while we're taking care of our residents inside and when they're returning. So please, Meredith, if you have some resources, reach out to me.
Well,
so with that, I'd just like to say if there's no more questions, thank you, Charlie, for giving us the time to speak. And Joe Barron for sheriff. I want your vote. Please vote Joe Barron for sheriff in November.
Okay, great. Yeah. This has been something. I'm sure we would have been kicked out of the restaurant by now. But Madam Treasurer, Daun Hester.
Good morning, everyone, and happy 4th to everyone as well. It's good to see all of you, even though it's on Zoom. It's a beautiful day outside. Take some time for yourself today, because we've heard a lot, had a lot of questions. There's a lot going on that we're trying to accomplish. We are going to get Joe and Blythe across the finish line. And I am grateful, yes, that I don't have anyone running against me. I think this is the first ever. I can't remember any of my elections where I didn't have somebody running against me, and that's okay. When you know you're a quality candidate and you know you have some good ideas and you know that you're already leading and doing good work, citizens know that. We just have to get the message out and get the point across. So I'm certainly not going to talk long because it's time to go. But I will share with you that the treasurer's office, where you know it currently being located in City Hall, has had to move to a temporary location still in City Hall on the first floor where early voting takes place. Asbestos was discovered in the office. And so we have to move. And so we're doing the best we can. We're still offering services. I believe that in late September, we will probably have to close the office for a couple of weeks to transition back in, because we have to be out of the temporary location for early voting. And so we have to be out of the office by September 13th, and our timeline does not, and I do believe in miracles, and I'm praying for one, allow us to be able to get out and then get back in, because once election materials are set up and the machines are set up, no one else can be in that office. Those are our state ordinances. So we're working diligently, but when you come in, instead of going to the left as you usually do across from the commissioner's office, you now go to the right. And we're still offering the same services. We do encourage everybody to still try to do online, email us or call. Email is better. I think you get a faster response. We get about 150 calls, maybe 200 calls a day. We do have people monitoring those and calling people back. So we're trying to provide still quality service. And a lot of people still want to come in and see us and talk to us and ask us questions, and that's great. And we're providing that service. You don't have to have an appointment to see us. You do have to have an appointment though for DMV. And so I just wanted to let you all know it's been challenging for our team. We have a quality team. Next week, we will be totally out of the old space, and they'll begin protecting the OR family on the other side, because they're going to put a wall up and build it and try to get it all done, everything out and then back in. It has been a journey that I've never been on, but we are handling things as best we can. We are still collecting taxes. We're still searching for people who aren't paying taxes. We're still putting payment plans in place because we still know it's a challenging time. But we're doing the best we can. And once again, I still do want your vote too. And I want you to tell others to vote, because you know you still want to have high numbers, even though you don't have anybody running against you. So maybe the next time, I'll be 70 the next time, so I don't know what's going to be happening then. But I do just want to make sure the numbers look good. And I want to keep our constitutional officers the same as we have now, including Ramin, as we work again over the next 4 years to continue to serve the citizens in Norfolk. So happy holidays again to everyone. If there are any questions, put them in the chat and I'll just answer them so that we can move on to the next individuals, if that's okay with the chair.
Yep, that's absolutely. Moving on to Commissioner of Revenue Office, Blythe.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm so happy to be here with you all, and happy Independence Day. I am going to be super brief. To our friends across the way of the city treasurer's office, we lift you up and we support you during this crazy time. So we're all working together. We're in City Hall working hard. And you know, again, I hope that I can earn all of your votes, as well as the support for our sheriff, and also votes for our dear treasurer. Unopposed as she is, I still want to see lots of big numbers for her. You'll notice I have my Scott button on. I don't know if the congressman is still in the chat, in the Zoom, but this actually is an original Congressman Scott button. That I have been able to hold on to. So I hope to earn your vote, as this Scott is running for the Commissioner of the Revenue in November. Thank you all. Please also, if you have questions for me, put them in the chat and I will follow up with any individual who asks me a question. I am honored to serve. Thank you all. Happy Independence Day.
Thanks, Blythe. And I guess as we'll say, our soon to be Commonwealth's attorney, Ramin, you got something to say in a minute?
Sure. Thomas and James gave the Scottsdale 4th of July parade 2 thumbs up. George Allen was not on horseback, but Senator Deeds was there with Delegate Bell. They thank you everybody for your help in June. I am on Team Democrats and Team Norfolk for November. I'm here for everybody.
All right. Finale Norton. Campaign update in the 100th.
Yes, thank you. So really quickly, so we've had our launch in Accomack, Northampton, and in Norfolk. Had great support in Norfolk. Congresswoman Luria was there, Jay Jones, Angela, Alex Askew. I don't think I missed anybody. And then we just had supporters here, which was awesome. So yeah, I need your support. I need all of your support. And what I would say is, on the Accomack, Northampton side, 40% of those folks come out to vote. 26% of our voters come out in Norfolk. So when you help me, if you're running, you're helping yourself, because there's a lot of voters that we have to get to who have not participated. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. Any announcements so we can wrap this thing up? Yeah, Phil?
Yes, thank you so much, Charlie, and welcome, Democrats. I'm excited to announce, many of you already know that I have formally filed to be a formal candidate for the office of Norfolk City Council for the Super Ward 7 seat that is up for election for the November 2nd special election. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your encouragement and support on this new journey again for me. And I'm excited. And I'm so excited because I've already received 2 endorsements, public endorsements for my candidacy for this office to represent the citizens of Super Ward 7. The first endorsement came from State Senator Lionel Spruill of the 5th District for Norfolk and Chesapeake. So thank you, Senator Spruill, for your support. And the other endorsement will be coming from our upcoming Norfolk Commonwealth's attorney, Ramin Fatehi. So thank you so much. And this is an invite to all of the Norfolk Democrats to please join me on Saturday, July 17th from 10:30 a.m. until 11:30 a.m., 1 hour, right here in the Ingleside community, right in the middle of Norfolk, off Virginia Beach Boulevard near the Ingleside School. We'll be at the park area near the baseball diamond and the community gym for a kickoff, for official kickoff for this campaign. So please join us. All citizens of Norfolk are welcome, whether you live in Super Ward 7, vote in Super Ward 7 or not. Please join us for this exciting time in our city. Thank you so much for your support. You can look in the chat if you have any questions or if you need to RSVP so we can know how many people to expect. Send me your information, Hawkins for Norfolk City Council at gmail.com. We'll be launching an official virtual link on midweek of next week. Thank you so much, Charlie, for this opportunity.
Right. Thanks, Bill. Ophelia, what you got going on? And thank you for all your hard work on primary day, getting those folks, and then the whole thing about the restaurant. I know that was a challenge for you, but Ophelia, what you got?
I wanted to remind everybody that we can do things regarding keeping alive Black Lives Matter and making sure that it is not maligned and destroyed. There is every week a vigil at the corner of 27th and Hampton Boulevard in Norfolk, 4:15 to 5:15. Come hang out with us for the hour, hold up a sign that says Black Lives Matter, and keep the message alive. Thank you.
Joni.
Charlie, I put this in the chat, but backed by popular demand is the 45th annual cookout. We have confirmation from Governor Ralph Northam, Senator Kane, and Terry McCullum thus far. So I invite everybody to join us on Labor Day at the Scott Place. Details forthcoming. Thank you.
Great, great, great. And last announcement, Mr. Hodges, welcome to the breakfast. I think this is your first visit. I'm not sure.
I've been before, sir, in a while back. Just afternoon, everybody. Sorry, and not to take up too much time, but with Mr. Hawkins' announcement, I'd like to take the same opportunity to announce that I'm here representing Jackie Glass for her candidacy for the Super Ward 7 seat. Women and families are Jackie's focus, and she was here on the call, but actually dipped off because she's up getting her kids from camp and coming right back. So Jackie's kickoff was last week. I'm sorry, and if anybody was there that I did get a chance to speak to, sorry that I might not have been able to make your hand, but we're actually out canvassing and ready to do this work. We're here and ready to represent the city strongly. Unified, Unitarian, inclusion. We're here for it. I'll put my information in the chat. And hope to hear from you all. Thanks for the time.
And we will, as a committee, be talking as the executive board as to what we need to do to make sure all the candidates have a chance to talk to our members, our voters. So we'll see what transpires as the fall.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Sheriff.
Yeah. Well, am I still on?
Yep, you're right. Yep.
Oh,
no, you're good.
Great. I don't know how to take the hand down. Hey, I just wanted to respond quickly. There were some things in the chat about replacing deputies with social workers or reallocating funds. It's not as simple as that. When you're in a jail environment and you have 971 inmates, some blocks are anywhere from 50 to 60 inmates in those blocks. You have to have fully trained, according to the state and according to me, fully trained deputies that have been through the academy, that know how to respond to all sorts of things. I completely agree with the need for additional funding, additional resources that could be brought to bear into the jail with the social workers and clinical workers. Think that would be fantastic if the state would fund that. We could use it. We certainly can, especially when we have over 300 people in our facility with mental health problems. But I can tell you this from an employee morale point of view, they want to know that when they go into a block to stop a fight, which invariably happens because people are not happy sitting in jail. But when they go into a block and they have to break up a fight, they want to know that there's someone that's fully trained that's going to come in there and back them up and be in there with them and know how to defend themselves, know how to act within the boundaries of the law as it relates to what kind of force you can use, whether or not you need to use force, and it may not even be a need of use of force. Their training is so many different kind of tactics that I mean, we could hire social workers as long as we send them through the academy and they're going to be a full-time deputy for me. We can certainly do that. But Mr. Hodges, I've left my phone number in the chat. If you want to talk more about that, I'm happy to talk more about that. But anyways, yeah, and someone says they're competent, sir, retired Navy, de-escalation. Yeah, that's great, but the state doesn't recognize that, okay? The state recognizes certifications within the Commonwealth of Virginia through a specific program through DCJS. That's their requirements. And if I'm going to be held liable for anything, I have to follow what the state requires me to do. And they won't pay for anybody else to be a deputy in my jail. And the city needs that state funding so that they can help supplement us to get us to a pay that where we can be competitive so we can keep our deputies with us. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm happy to talk about it offline, but I figured that was something that needed to be addressed to the whole group, Charlie. I'm sorry for monopolizing.
Yeah. Okay, no problem, Joe. And before we get to our last announcement, Jerry Collins, I guess she has a petition on change.org looking to get signatures on it for ending the filibuster. I guess we'll try and get that information out as to how you can sign up to end the filibuster. But finishing things up on a lengthy morning, but very informative morning, even as long as it went. Atoy? You're unmuted, so let her rip.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, Jim. My question is simply this, and I'm sorry, I had to step away, so if it was mentioned, forgive me, I missed it. But for one of the city council people that are one of the candidates that are running for city council, that there's going to be some type of a meeting, I think somewhere around Azalea Garden Road, where all of the candidates are going to be there so that we can meet them. Is that there? Can someone provide that information?
Yes, I sent it in the chat in my message.
Okay, thank you.
All 6 candidates have been invited by the Azalea Acres Lakes Civic League to host a meet and greet with the candidates for Super Ward 7. So I think most of us have already agreed to attend. That's on Monday, July 12th. And that's the evening in-person event at the Apostolic Church, 3131 Azalea Garden Road, from 6:30 to 8:30. There is an Evite link that's included in my message that's being sent by Ms. Govan, who is my public community and public relations coordinator. So you can go ahead and click that link and do the Evite and let them know how many are coming, so they'll be aware in advance. But
Sorry, I missed that information. Thank you again,
Okay.
Philip.
You're welcome.
All right, well, and one more hand came up, and it is our esteemed Jerry Collins. All right, got to unmute yourself, Jerry. Still got to unmute yourself. There we go.
Oh, I was just going to say, since you announced my my petition, I was trying to lower my hand because you were trying to end the meeting because my message is out there. But my filibuster petition, it's really all about how important it is to get the filibuster ended, because from that, it's going to trickle down to a lot of policies being implemented that's going to impact our communities in order to help get rid of the violence that's going on and the way our kids are getting killed right now. So it's not that I am jumping ahead of what's happening here in our communities. In order to get the results we need the laws passed so that we can get the results in our communities. And that's why I am so intent right now on getting or helping to get the filibuster ended. And if there's any way you can help me get it out, because I did send you the link and I need as many signatures on it as possible so that the message is we're really serious about this. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this morning.
Mr. Charlie?
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Charlie? I'm so sorry am I interrupting?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all I just wanted to put out to all of the candidates, Mr. Charlie, I think I had talked to you about this. All the candidates who are running for office, Congress, governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, commissioner of revenue, sheriff, everybody who is running. I like to have some type of point of contact with your legislative aides or your assistants for everyone who is running, because the ILA is no longer under the AFL-CIO anymore. Some people know and some people don't, but there's a committee that we have formed, and we are going to be trying to get involved and help everybody who is going to be running for office. So if you do not have my number, let me know, and I will try to get my number to everyone, because it's important that I find out this information on everyone.
Yeah, because the ILA is a good organizing tool for all the candidates. You're right, and helpful.
So that's all I had to say.
Yep. Very good. All right, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Next month, air conditioning up and running. We'll be able to meet in person, and I look forward to it. So thank you for our very lengthy breakfast. But again, it was long, but boy, was it informative. So
Hey, Charlie, just really quickly, I'm sorry, for our business meeting, that's going to still be on Zoom. Is that correct? I just want to, if you don't mind mentioning that.
No, okay, well, thank you. Our next business meeting is the third Wednesday of the month, and we are moving in our new post-COVID world. We're going to be meeting at the Firefighters Union Hall for our business meetings at 7 o'clock. So information on that will be going out, and it would be, I'm a horrible chair for not having already said this. For all those who are on the call still, go to the NorfolkDemocrats.org website, click our new online membership form, no longer having to print and mail it in. So join the committee, and we need strength in numbers. So visit us. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks to all our participants from Bobby on down through the General Assembly to our city. You were great, great questions. And we will see you next month if we don't see you at our business meeting. All right, everybody. Thank you. God bless. Have a great 4th.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th.